Yeah, so today we're going to be going through some Groundhogs trade paperbacks. I have left them on my shelf because I did try this, as I said, a couple of weeks ago, but it was just too awkward leaning over the camera and what have you. And I just didn't really like the end product, so that's why it didn't go up. So we're going to go through them again today. Some of them you will be familiar with, some of them are classics, some of them not so much. If you are wanting to get into comics or graphic novels, or basically just the medium as a whole, there's some stuff in here which I would really, well, I recommend everything, but if you're just starting out and you're wondering what should I start with, there's some great stuff for you to jump in and start with in this list, from what I remember. I'm not entirely sure what I put in the list, but from the top that I can see, there's some good stuff for seasoned readers or new readers alike. Alright, so the first book that we have, which isn't in the best condition because I've taken it with me places, it's been in suitcases and bags and what have you, so it's a little bit bent, out of shape, but it's just a testament to how much I love this book and how much I read it and how many different places I've taken it with me. This is what I would consider an essential. It's a game changer, particularly in the tone and mood that comics went after this was released. It was very much a linchpin, a sort of real catalyst for change, and it is The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, which a little bit of the last Chris Nolan Batman film was based on, and it seems like they're also kind of basing some of this Batman versus Superman film that they're doing off of it, particularly like some of the aesthetics and the choice to kind of go with an older Batman, because The Dark Knight Returns essentially follows Bruce Wayne coming back out of a long tenured retirement and sort of retaking the cowl and trying to get back into the world he left behind, especially when Gotham is overrun by a sort of group of you could call them like a super empowered gang, but they're more like a terrorist group called the Mutants, and he finds that the world has very much changed since he last put on the cowl. But it's great. Not to give away too much, but as you can see, this is kind of where they seem to have got the basic idea of pairing Superman against Batman, as Suits is brought in by the government to try and quell Batman. How awesome is that image? Batman on a horse. Yeah, the reason why this is a game changer and why this is like an essential read, I think, is because it really did shift the tone of not just Batman and of DC, but of comics in general. It kind of opened the door to edgier ideas, darker ideas, most definitely. It's a lot more visceral. It's a bit grisly. It's dark. It's brooding. It's kind of nasty in places. But yeah, it definitely kind of opened up a new lane for comic writers. So kudos to Frank Miller for that. If you've read any of these, by the way, I'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on them. Let's talk geeky. Also, if you've got any stuff you want to recommend me, then do so. I'm just finishing up, finally, Lock and Key. I think I'm on volume 6. I know I am on volume 6, I'm about halfway through, so I've just got a little bit left, and I love that series. That's something I don't have on me here at the minute, but I recommend that highly as well. So imaginative, love that series so far, and I can't see it disappointing. It's just excelled itself all the way through, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how it concludes, but also a little bit not so much so, because when it's finished, it's finished. But you know, I can always go back and read it again. And the second book that I've got from you again is from Frank Miller, and it is another Batman book. It is Batman Year One, and it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum to The Dark Knight Returns, whereas The Dark Knight Returns sees Batman kind of coming back after a long hiatus. Year One is kind of what the title suggests it is. It is Bruce Wayne's first year as the Bat, but it also kind of shares story time with Jim Gordon, who also is experiencing his first year battling crime in Gotham. So it's an interesting sort of split between two characters, because there is a lot of parallels to be drawn between them. I really like the artwork of this. It's not so much as standout as a lot of other artwork you'll see, especially the colouring. It's more pastel, but it kind of fits the sort of murkier, darker sort of tone of the story. The Jim Gordon aspect of this book is actually probably the more favourable part, because it kind of gives you a much clearer insight into who he is, and when pressed against the current sort of law standards in Gotham, who he isn't. And it's a really great read for that sort of character piece more than anything else. But yeah, definitely a read you should be looking into if you've not done so already and you like Batman. What else have we got here? We have Volume 1, although I would recommend all of them, Volume 1 and 2 of The Ultimates, and The Ultimates 2 by Mark Millar, who you may know as the sort of creator of Kick-Ass. As you can see, the artwork here, I mean, well, this is much later on in terms of timeline, when artwork got glossier and more detailed and more polished, but I really dig the artwork in The Ultimates, but I also dig some of the writing in this as well. The Ultimates is kind of the launching pad from which the Avengers and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the sort of Marvel universe you see at the minute kind of came from. It's not a complete replica, which is good, because, to be honest, there are moments in this which is a little bit dark for the sort of TV movie universe Marvel have built up. Having said that, though, they're introducing Thanos, which is a character I love, but at the same time, when you're kind of gearing towards a more family-friendly audience, it makes me wonder how you're going to get around his obsession with death, which is a little bit bleak, to say the least. But yeah, there's some bleak moments in this, and it's because Millar's... I do generally like him as a writer, but he has a bit of a nasty streak to him. And in here, it kind of manifests itself with Hank Pym, who is the version of Ant-Man in this Avengers universe. I won't say too much, but he's not the nicest character at all. In fact, there's a couple of characters just in Millar's writing in general which are not very nice. He has a sort of mean streak, I think is the best way to put it, but generally it's a great ensemble piece. And if you digged the Avengers movie and you like the sort of Marvel visual universe that they've put on the big screen and small screen so far, this is a good book to jump into, because there are some seeds of creativity from that in there. And also it's always great to just see some of your favourites together. And there's some different characters in there as well that are not represented in the universe. Next we have one of my favourite runs of all time, and it kind of reverts back to talking about mean streaks and nastiness. This has a mean streak a mile wide, but it is so clever, and it is so it is just got so much gallows humour, and it really is quite nasty and grim. And it does not hold back in the slightest, but the concept is so fantastic and the characters are incredible. Like, for instance, this dude here, the Saint of Killers, one of the most badass comic book characters you could ever find. The story basically revolves around this gentleman here, Jesse Custer, who is a preacher, as the title suggests, of a small town, who finds himself the human vessel for a sort of celestial being, and then finds all manner of creatures, great and small, human and inhuman, trying to extract and take what he has. Yeah, if you are of a very strict religious nature, it's maybe not for you, because there are a lot of liberties taken, and you can see how some might see it as blasphemous, but it's very inventive and it's very creative. Also, talk about great characters. That guy right there, one of the best characters I've ever just come across in terms of like my comic reading history, my personal comic reading history. He is an Irish vampire called Cassidy, who is just amazing. He's just such a great character. He's so multi-leveled. He's really funny. He's really grim, but he's also got a lot of emotional depths. He's seen and been through an awful lot. And that's the thing. It's a great concept. It's really adventurous, it's clever, it's got some great character development, some just great characters, just so many memorable bits and pieces throughout the series. And it's great, but it's not for the faint of heart or easily offended. I'll just say that as a disclaimer, I guess. Okay. So hopefully all that industrial-like noise has been made outside by some inconsiderate person didn't make it through to the recording. Fingers crossed. But anyway, we shall proceed. So the next book is one of my favourite pieces of writing, not just in the medium of comics or what have you, but just in general. I just love the writing of V for Vendetta. A lot of people have seen the movie, which is pretty decent. Not a lot of people have read the book, and I cannot recommend it enough. Just the ideas, the characterization, the subtext, the dialogue, the vision behind it is just incredible. What's kind of scary is the UK has just, well, I don't know if they've passed it, but they're talking about a data security law in which they're going to start monitoring texts, phone calls and emails and stuff, and that's kind of the root idea of this. It's very much an expansion of George Orwell's Big Brother from 1984, but with a much darker, sinister, a more oppressive point added to it. To be honest, it's pretty much flawless in my eyes. It's like the standard bearer for writing in terms of comic books, and just in general. I think, as I said, one of my favourite pieces of writing ever. by the mad wizard looking like Alan Moore, genius that he is. Yeah, I pretty much adore most of Alan Moore's stuff, but this is a standout. So yeah, if you've never heard of it, do check it out. He has one of the best anti-heroes I've ever come across in V. If you've seen the film and you've never read the book, do honestly read the book, because it just adds so much depth, so much more history to the character of V than the film does. I mean, you know, it's always hard to fit stuff from any sort of medium to film when you've got so much detail in the original source, but honestly, just a work of genius. And I do reserve that word for things that truly deserve it, and V for Vendetta does. The next book we have is another Alan Moore book. It is his take on Swamp Thing, which I always saw as just kind of like a character that never really meant anything to me. It was just kind of always there as a sort of gimmicky kind of character. But Saga of Swamp Thing is, I'd also put this in there as one of the best runs or series that I've ever read through. It just draws so much from so many different places, from science, from religion, from sort of Greek mythology, and it applies into a man who has become a sort of vegetated, organic hybrid creature. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's incredible, and it's so very, very human for a book which is centered around a character named Swamp Thing. Just astonishing writing, and again great characterization, and just, you know, shifts your expectations and defies them. I generally really love this run. Again, I'm pretty much just I could read anything that Alan Moore has done, but Saga of Swamp Thing, and the further you get into it, it's one of those Moorish titles, because you'll start reading, and at first it may take a little while to kind of set the pieces up and what have you, but once it hits momentum, you're just like, I need more, I want more, give me more Swamp Thing. It's a lovely front cover as well, actually, for volume 1. Like, I would legit hang that up on my wall if I had like a print of that. I don't think whoever was living with me at the time would be too enamoured by my choice of decor, but I'd be like, hey, shut up, Swamp Thing's got feelings too. What we got next? Well, let's have a look in just a second. Again, a series where you may have seen the movie, you may have not, because it didn't do very well, unfortunately, because the movie's great. I love the movie. I think it's incredibly funny, and it's just a wonderful visual feast. But Scott Pilgrim, if I can speak English, Scott Pilgrim, very different to anything that's been included on this list so far, particularly in the art style. It's all black and white. I think they've done a colour version though, if I'm not mistaken now, or at least I know there was talks at some point of doing a colour version, but to be honest, I kind of really love the fact it's just black and white. It makes it stand out a bit, it's different. I generally love the animation. As you can see, it's kind of manga inspired, particularly with like the size of the book. It's not your usual standard trade paperback size, but I think that adds to its charm. Again, really great characters, really fun dialogue, crazy ideas, weird concept, but one that just, I don't know, just works so well. The humour and just the tone of these books are great. And again, if you've seen the film and you've not read the book, do, because there's just so much more added to it. Although, to be fair, it is actually a pretty good adaptation. It gets a lot of the stuff from the series, both big and small, into the film, but the book is great. The series is great, even, because there's like, I can't remember how many volumes there are. I think there's like, I don't want to say 6, maybe more. It's been ages since I've read them. Actually, just flicking through this makes me want to go back and read through them all again. Yeah, so there you go. Scott Pilgrim. That's volume 1. That's volume 2. And the last book, it seems, that I've got put on my desk, which is a mess, by the way. I do apologise. My desk is a constant mess, but it just seems even more particularly messy today. I mean, there is microphones, there are cables, there are headphones everywhere. There is a Nintendo DS on there for some reason. I don't even know. I don't even know what's on my desk anymore. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. The last book that I have for you is another Mark Millar book and another Marvel Universe book, except this is, if you are looking for just like a huge crossover title, then this is probably like one of the granddaddies of crossover characters within the same sort of universe, as it were. Civil War. It is a very big, thick book, and it basically centres around superhero identification. After an incident goes down, the people want to know who these masked crusaders really are. They want their identities revealed, some of which comply, some of which do not. But there is also more than that going on. As you will see as you read through the book. Again, the artwork, it is more in tune with the glossy, sort of more polished standards that you're used to seeing. But again, I just love the artwork, and it's so cool to just see so many characters. Look, like right there, you've got Iron Man, you've got Ben Grimm, you've got She-Hulk. You've got so many characters. So if you are just looking for an all-out war between pretty much nearly everybody within the Marvel Universe, it seems at times, then Civil War is what you want. It's so good. I kind of want to go back and read this again now I'm flicking through it. This and oh, I forget the name of it now. Anyway, this is good. See, look, there you go. There's Spidey showing who it really is. Yeah, it's a simple idea, but it causes such an interesting rift, and the way it divides lines within sort of the superhero mutant community is really interesting. And there are some pretty epic fight scenes in there as well. So yeah, if you're just looking for an explosion of sort of Marvel awesomeness, Civil War is definitely something you want to check out. Anyway, there you go. There is a list. I can do some more if people are interested. I can pull out some more books from my shelves, or perhaps sort of particular single issue runs. Could maybe go through a long box at some point, or what have you. But yeah, if you have read any of those prior to this, let me know what you think of them. If you read any off the base of this, I would really like to know what you think of them. which ones you read, etc. And if you have any recommendations based on what you've seen here for me, then do share them, because I'm always looking out for new stuff to read. So yeah, let's talk geeky and stuff. And other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back at some point. Yeah.